Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. I don't have much rambling to do until basically the outro. We have 5 albums to get through, so we will get through those 5 albums probably quick. We begin in Stockholm, Sweden for Candlemass and their 13th album, Sweet Evil Son. Now this is a band that's been around for almost 40 years now. I covered their last album, which I think was titled The Door to Doom, I think is what it was called, and these are a doom metal-y act. I mean, you know that if you've even heard of Candlemass, they're one of the bands responsible for bringing doom metal into the mainstream, and I'm giving this album a B+. I'm not normally one for doom metal, but there's just something that Candlemass specifically do with the genre that makes it a bit more easy for me to get into. It's not as slow as doom metal typically is. A lot of the riffs are much more layered. There's some really good solo work. The lyrics are still very fantastical in their ways and talk about things like Satanism, so that's still a pretty good staple of doom metal, but it's not as overly obvious with it, I think is the best way to say it. The performance is still really good. I quite like the production in this one as well. Much like The Door to Doom, I find Sweet Evil Son to be very well produced and just very well handled, very organic feeling. I like it when a band does that with doom metal production. Structure-wise, I mean, it might be a little bit long. It's not even the longest album in this video. That I'll be covering in this video, but yeah, it finds good ways to fill that length out, and again, it just reaches it's got a surprisingly sort of light feel to it for a doom metal album, which is not something I often get to say about the genre. So I don't know, maybe go pick this one up. I thought it was a surprisingly fun bit of doom metal, which is not something you usually get. But Candlemass, you know, they've been doing this shit for a while, so I hope they continue to do this shit for a while longer. Next we go to Chicago, Illinois for Disturbed and their 8th album, Divisive. My thoughts on Disturbed are very much the fact that their last 2 albums were not super great. I really liked Asylum. In fact, that was the first album I listened to by them before they would have their first breakup and then release Immortalized, I think it was in 2015. I'm giving this one, though, a B-. I do think it's their best album since Asylum, but it's not really super great in some areas. It's got its good moments. I think it's one of the heavier outputs in a while, and to me that does work. I wish there were more guitar style work, but besides that, a lot of the instrumental work is quite well done. But there's just something about the lyrics, first of all, don't sit right with me. They take the political stuff a bit way too seriously, which is something that even from Asylum and before that, they didn't really do that much, and I want them to be more like storytellers. I don't like the overly political lean. It's just not really something that fits them, to be honest. And this is a very politically minded band, but it's very, very much on the nose for this one. I do like some other aspects of it though. I think Dave Draymond's vocals are still pretty damn good. There's not really much of him improving because he's always sounded the same, but he's got a good voice for this particular style of metal. The production's pretty alright, surprisingly. They got Drew Falk on it, and Drew Falk is usually a lot better than this, but I think he was just weighed down by what the band wanted to do, personally, because the band has produced, I think they self-produced the last few albums. I will put a disclaimer up if I'm wrong about that. They might have had a hand in it, yeah, in some way, shape, or form. Structure-wise, it's just, I don't know, I love this album. It's just very bog-standard Disturbed, but, like, slightly better. You know, it's one of those things, it's like, it's something that just makes you get used to it for a while. You know, it's not something you're going to remember too much of, but you're going to go to yourself, you know what, it could have been worse. Next we have a debut, Jared Dines with his first full-length solo album, The Grey. Now, even though this is a solo album and he's like self-released and self-produced and things like that, there are a ton of guest stars. This is also one of the longest albums I've covered this year. It's an hour and almost 10 minutes. And it gets an A-, right? An A-, I should specify, not an E-. It sounds like E- a little bit. No, it gets an A-. This album is really goddamn good. The instrumental work is fantastic. The sheer amount of chug is awesome. I love the guitar solos. I really like the drum work too. The lyrics covering things like anxiety and also sort of like telling a story of betrayal and friendship and things like that. Really, really love that they went for a concept leading thing. I really like the performances, especially from the guest stars. Pretty much all the guest stars shine, but I will give special mention to Austin Dickey and Justin Bonnet. They're both fucking phenomenal in the songs that they appear on. And the production's really great too. Like, Jared just knows this shit super well. At least I'm just assuming he produced it himself, and if he did, really good work. Love how dense and thick it feels. But goddamn, this thing is fucking long. I still recommend going to find it and listen to it, obviously, but you definitely need to set some time aside for yourself. There's 16 songs as well, and I think a few of them could have been maybe sliced in half, not necessarily sliced off. I don't know. It's the only major problem I have with it, really, but it's still a very well mixed pace, especially for the first half of the album. It's not something that struggles or stumbles all that often to keep its footing, and it builds up really well, crashes really well into what it flows into. Yeah, it's, got decent enough flow for an album this long, but it's a very fucking long album, so just keep that in mind, but I still recommend going to find this and listen to it. Next we have a debut from a quote-unquote supergroup from somewhere in the UK. Oh, by the way, I should have specified, Disturbed are a very heavy metal hard rock band. Jared Dines is a very metalcore, sort of genty musician dude. Low Life are a sort of pop punk, pop rocky band. They're probably the lightest band I'm covering in this particular episode of Music of the Week. And they're a supergroup consisting of people I've never heard of. They're from somewhere in the UK. But I'm going to give this album a B. I don't know what it was. I don't usually like this sort of almost dude bro-y style of pop punk, but it does have a few exceptions to it. For example, it's on Hellcat Records, which is a really good debuting label. And the band themselves actually just came off as really charming and likable. They can all play their instruments really well. I think they all do vocals too. I, again, do not know anything about who they were before this, but I like who they are as this group. The production's really nice as well. It's kept very light and breezy, as is the structuring too. The structuring is, again, maybe just a teeny bit too long, but it's not inconsistent in any way, and again, it just keeps things going nice and smoothly. The production's quite smooth as well. I like the performances. The instrumental work is more on the pop side of it, but it serves well with the melody, and I like how it's handled, honestly. And the lyrics are not, kind of your box standard relationship and youth sort of things, but again, just told in a very nostalgic feeling way, so it's pretty damn good for a debut of this style. I might look forward to whatever they drop next. And finally, we go to Somewhere in Pennsylvania for Tala and their second album, The Generation of Danger. So if anyone knows me, they would know that their album Metrifugy was my second favourite of 2020, and there's a very good chance that this is going to be somewhere in my top list for 2022. I'm giving this album A+. And again, much like Metrifugy, there's nothing that this album messes up on at all. Like, the instrumental work is crushing, chaotic, but at the same time restrained, melodic, and very, very well handled. The lyrics cover a different story, this one of a scientist whose inventions keep getting swept under the rug by the company he works for, seeking revenge on the people he works for. And I'm actually writing a thing about it, like, not right now, because, at the moment I'm recording this video, but by the time you see it, it will have been recorded and edited and so on. But it's a very interesting story, and you know what, just for you guys, I will link a video in the description of this one, because, you're totally going to watch this video, to Justin Bonnet, the lead singer of Tala. Yeah, he did the guest spot on Jared Dines' album, well, one of them. So, yeah, he's the lead singer of Tala, and he actually explains the concept of the album really well, so yeah, I'll put a link to it. Go watch that for a better description, because basically what I'm going to be writing is sort of a version of what he says, as well as like my own thoughts and theories from reading through the lyrics as I was listening to the album. I really need to listen to it again at some point. Performances, yeah, Justin Bonnet is fantastic, everyone else fantastic. I really love Musen's work on the DJ front. He's just putting in so much hype and energy. I do find it sad that they don't currently have like a recording basis right now, but, the bass still sounds really good on this album. Speaking of the production, phenomenal work. I love how Earache lets this band just be, for the most part. I think, Earache is a perfect record label name for a band like Tala to be on, as well, considering how heavy their new metalcore style is. They even lean in with some deathcore at points as well. But yeah, absolutely phenomenally handled, very organic and layered and dense production. Again, just really fucking works for me. And structure-wise, it is also really, really just phenomenal. It is, It is on purposely out of order in terms of the story context, but if you're not here for the story and you're just listening to it as a musical album, you'll absolutely fucking love it. I know I did as well. I mean, it just, again, just the build and the crash and the mixture of moods and tones. Yeah, I mean, go and listen to Tala in general. Go find Madrifagy, listen to that. Go find The Generation of Danger and listen to that as well. Just absolutely sorry for my hair, phenomenal work, and also go watch the video in the description below. It will explain things a lot better than I just did. That is about it for another episode of this. I will see you all tomorrow night, possibly, for more streaming the Let's Play of Marvel's Avengers. And because I think I forgot to do this last week, I'll do it for this one. Least recommended to most recommended. Disturbed with Divisive, Lolith with Payday, Candlemass with Sweet Evil Sun, Jared Dines with The Grey, and Tala with The Generation of Danger. I could probably interchange those last two, but I prefer The Generation of Danger a little bit more personally. However, again, go listen to all these albums at least once. Devise your own opinions of them, because, you know, I'm just a moron who grades them on YouTube. You should not take my word as gospel. So yeah, that's basically all I've got to say. Oh, thank you to everyone who watched the return show for PBW vs AVW the other night. It was kind of fun. I can't wait to get those parts up on YouTube on Saturday-ish, Sunday-ish, whenever the hell I think I'm going to put them up. So yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow night for more streaming and shit. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.